Talking with Jesse Graybo, Sergeant Graybo. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Now, you're the Minnesota State Patrol, right?
That is correct, Minnesota State Patrol.
Okay, so I wanted to give you a call and find out a little bit here. It kind of stemmed from a conversation that I was having with somebody the other day. They got pulled over because they were at a stoplight and they were checking their voicemail messages, and there was an officer next to them and pulled them over, and it was a red light, but they still said that that was not legal and it was distracted driving. So I was just kind of wondering, what in the world, I mean, even just anywhere on the road, there's things that people are getting pulled over just for using their smartphone in one way or another. And so I thought, let's find out, what are some of the things that you guys do in order to find out that somebody is using their smartphone?
Well, that's just it. It all comes down to observation, and the truth behind it is it's a very difficult violation to obviously enforce just because of the difficulty to see that type of violation go on. So number one is just the officers looking, but throughout the years of having this law, now this has been a law in Minnesota since August of 2008, and we have different enforcement campaigns going on during that time, and we have gotten, I guess, how could you say, perhaps creative in some of our enforcement techniques just to help officers be better observe that type of violation going on, and that comes to working with other partners, businesses, different things like that, I guess you could say. And more or less we've used school buses, snowplows, where we'll have an officer riding along, just observing this violation, calling it out there. I know in one part of Minnesota they actually had some of the officers, this department has a sheriff's posse where they actually had some officers at intersections sitting on horses and just calling this out to other officers that were in a squad car. So having that ability to observe that violation and relay that to other officers to provide that type of enforcement on that type of violation.
That's what I was going to ask, because I did hear that there were times in school buses that officers would ride along and look straight down at people next to the school buses and call in an officer to pull them over and give them a violation for that. Do you guys ever ride in semi-trucks that are going down the road and just, looking at people, calling in your backup to go get them?
Well, and that's just it. We have utilized that in those senses, and just to have that opportunity to provide that type of enforcement. Now, our goal during those campaigns, it's not about the number of citations we issue. It's about education, and that's the whole, thing behind these type of enforcement is getting people to speak up, not just from our end, but you yourself. Every time you get in a vehicle, to speak up to the driver. If you see that driver start picking up that phone, texting, updating their Facebook, whatever, speak up, say something, say, hey, please put the phone down, or let me call so-and-so, let me send that text message. Again, this is how we're going to save lives, because all too often we see distracted driving as a major factor in a number of our crashes, and in particular, a lot of those serious injury and fatal type crashes.
Now, is it something that is legal? If a call comes in, you can answer it, but it's just making that call out that is not legal now?
Well, as long as you're 18 or older in Minnesota, you can talk on a cell phone, whether it's to make that phone call or to receive that phone call. So anybody that's under the age of 18 cannot legally talk on a cell phone, or if you're in a commercial motor vehicle, that's actually a federal law when it comes to those in semis. They cannot be on a cell phone unless it is a hands-free device. But focusing on everybody else, then what that is, it comes to texting, emailing, just even accessing the web. That's what it comes down to, is either typing actively or reading those messages or surfing the web. That's where the law comes into play there. But just obviously to be aware of any type of distraction, not even just your phone, but other things that can take your eyes off the roadway, because we need to remember that driving is such an important responsibility and something we probably take for granted because we do it every day, and we start tricking ourselves thinking that we're better drivers than we are, that we can multitask. But when the reality comes down to it, even though you maybe haven't been in a crash before, yet so many of these people that have knows that it can come from that distracted driving.
Now, if you come across somebody that's obviously texting, driving, or using their smartphone, you see them using it, and you're kind of concerned, should somebody call the sheriff's department or 911 and report it?
Well, that's a very good question, because it is difficult to, how should we say, enforce in that, and how the information that we're going to rely on is very difficult too. So again, what I ask people to do, if they see that type of violation, what I'm first and foremost concerned is the actual driving behavior. Is that vehicle just such a driving behavior? It almost mimics or is similar to like a impaired driver, somebody under the influence of alcohol or drugs, or even a medical situation where you see that vehicle weaving, driving almost erratically, crossing over the center line, the fog lanes, those types of things. And you got to ask yourself, if that behavior continues down the roadway, are they going to become involved in a crash, hurting themselves or somebody else? Your answer to that is yes. well, then be a good witness, get that information, know your location, and call 911 in those circumstances, and get that information to us so we can detect this behavior and try to correct it before something worse happens.
Great information. Thanks again, Sergeant Graybo. I appreciate it. That answers a lot of questions, and I know our listeners will love to know that information as well.
Thank